Hi. So now, as part of step 5 in this process, there is something called practical training. And practical training is something that different team leaders do slightly different. So what I'm going to do in this video is just going through some of the theoretical concepts in this, like around the demo and how we practically actually go there and do a demo. So Lee has done a beautiful video of how to pack. So we're going to show that in a minute. But what I'm going to do now is just go through the menu matrix. We're going to talk about host coaching and just do a little recap on that. And then I'm going to show you, what is it that we need to bring to our demo. And then I'm going to go through what are the different parts of the demo. And then we've got a different recording with where you're going to see this in practice. So a full demo. So there's a few different concepts we're going to go through. It's probably going to take about 20 minutes. And this is something you can revisit down the track if you need to. And this might be something that your team leader has asked you to watch before you're coming to an in-person workshop, or it might be something that you're watching before going to observe a demo or your team leader coming to do your launch demo. So there's a few different ways to do it, but I'm going to share a presentation and we're just going to go through a few different concepts. So just bear with me. We are just, here is our practical training or demo concepts. So the first part I wanted to talk about is our menu matrix. So our menu matrix, you might see as something familiar from the booking and hosts workshop, or if you've been to a demo before, you might have tried some of these dishes. So why do we have a menu matrix, and why do we have a set number of recipes that we want to use in our demos? There's a few different reasons for that. One of them, and one of the main ones, is the fact that these show off the Thermomix in a beautiful way and are recipes that work for a lot of people. So we always start with a Fruity Dream because that is just, it's a palate cleanser. It's a quick and easy wow recipe for, I don't know how many demos I've been to where someone might have been a bit skeptical, and then we're whipping up this beautiful Fruity Dream in less than 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they are actually engaged and interested. So it's a beautiful recipe and it's only 3 ingredients and just, it's absolutely magic. So that's what we're starting with. Then the second recipe we're going to do is a bread. So we're doing either the bread rolls or we're doing the pizza bianca. Reason around this is that pretty much every family will buy bread or eat bread regularly. It might be normal bread or it might be gluten-free bread. So we want to showcase, because this is both a big cost saving and it's also one of those really wow factors, because not a lot of other kitchen appliances can make an ice cream and then go straight into making a bread. So that is super nice, simple, easy, and yeah, also a big wow. Then the third dish that we do in a demo is one of our mains. So we can, historically, the mushroom risotto has been one of the main demo dishes for years and years. So that's definitely an option. We have had the creamy coconut chicken curry, used to be my favorite demo recipe when I was a consultant and a team leader. It's super impressive, very yummy. It takes 25 minutes. It's got cauliflower rice and a really tasty quick curry with not that many ingredients. Most people absolutely love it. It's gluten and dairy free and can easily be made vegan as well if you swap the chicken for chickpeas, or I've done it with jackfruit, I've done it with like carrots or pumpkin. So there's lots of different options for that. But the TM7 hero recipe is the Marry Me chicken pasta. Reason for that is that it's got open cooking, so you can actually show a really new feature. So if I have got any TM5 or TM6 owners or previous owners, I always want to do the Marry Me chicken pasta because it's something they probably haven't seen before, and it's also showing some of the functions with the TM7 that is new and unique for our beautiful TM7. So the other, I'm kind of got it ahead of myself. So there's another couple of reasons why we want to use these set recipes, and that is because they are cost effective for both for our customers and for you as a consultant, and they also have ingredients that are easily accessible all year round, so it's not super seasonal, and they're timely and quick and easy and very relatable for a lot of people, and also cover them like time, health, energy, money really well. So great recipes. So stick to these recipes. I stuck to these recipes 99% of the time. It was the odd time where it was something that, very specific, someone wanted to see that maybe I would, showcase something different as well, or if they've had a lot of demos. But for you as a new consultant, stick to making this easy, because make sure you cook these recipes as you're training, so that you are familiar with these recipes when you go and do your first demos. I used to do as my first demos a fruity dream. I would do pizza bianca and a mushroom risotto. It's inexpensive, super simple, and actually really impressive, which is cool. So you get to decide what you would like to do, but yeah, a good recommended starter menu is fruity dream, pizza bianca, and either the risotto or the Merrimeat chicken pasta. You also have in this booklet, so this comes with your stationery kit. This is a demo recipe tips booklet. And in here, there is some really great advice. On each page, you've got first some questions. So great questions for you to ask in a demo around these recipes, and some wow factors, and some tips, and some dietary requirements, recommendations. So in questions, one of the things that we might ask in a demo when we're making the fruity dream, I would always ask, so imagine that you're cooking and you're making a fruity dream in your kitchen if you get a Thermomix, and what would be the flavor that you would use? What frozen fruit or vegetables would you use? Or maybe not vegetables, what frozen fruit or berries would you use making a fruity dream? So that's a really nice, there's some nice questions. And also, what other things might you use a whisk for? Is there any other dishes that you cook currently where you're using a hand beater or a whisk? Because we're using the butterfly whisk to make the fruity dream. Or another thing is to ask, where might you use the milling function? Is there anything else that you're currently buying that is a milled product? So there are 3 of the questions that are in here. So there's questions and tips and things to do with each of these demo recipes. So I would have this with me in the car. I would always have this, and I would just read up on some of the recipes I was using that night when I was a new consultant, and I would just pick one new question every demo. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to try this question and see how that goes. And then we're kind of just developing a repertoire of some great questions to use in our demos. The other thing that you have in this is also with ingredients. What is it that the consultant will supply, and what is it that the host will supply? So in the case of the fruity dream, you will supply the raw sugar. I would just have that in a container in my bag. And the host would supply the egg white and the frozen fruit. And it's the same for each of these recipes. You can, if you choose to, you can change this, but most of the time it is the simple rule is that anything that goes in the fridge or the freezer, your host will supply, and anything that is non-perishable ingredients, you will supply. So kind of the pantry staples. So that means that there's not heaps of ingredients for the host to supply, and you will bring those other ingredients. But if it's one of your first demos and you're doing a demo for a few of your friends and family, then absolutely you are welcome to supply all of the things if you choose to. However, just be careful kind of traveling with, say, chicken, or it is really, really easy to carry frozen fruit and it being a bit thawed when you get there and the fruity dream not working properly. So at the very least, get them to have the chicken if you're using that, and the frozen fruit. But again, up to you how you choose to do it. I love to send a shopping list in an email, or you can send it in a message as well. But in an email, it's nice because then you can link in the recipes, or the link to the recipes in Cookidoo as well, which is really, really cool. So next, I just want to recap the host coaching, because this is something that you've done in your booking and host workshop that you've done with your BDM. And just want to reiterate just this simple strategy of doing good host coaching. It will simplify booking the demos for you, and also we really want to help you make sure that you've got the best possible setup for your demo and you get the most out of this, the time that you're spending cooking with your friends and family. So again, with the date, we're really using this which. What would you prefer during the week or on the weekend, during the day or in the evening, and then kind of figuring that out. With a menu, I would always just start with, we're cooking a fruity dream to start with. Which bread would you prefer? Bread rolls or pizza bianca? or for main, you can either give them the 3 options, or I would normally pick 2. You know, I would be like, oh, actually, would you prefer a risotto or the Marry chicken pasta, if they were my preferred? And it might even be the case that I've got some of the ingredients in my fridge, so I would choose those 2. But, or if I think that this is a family that love Indian, or this is a family that, you know, want to save on groceries, then I might suggest the mushroom risotto, because it's just nice, simple, and cheap meal to make. Then ask them, so who have you thought about inviting to the demo? Is there anyone that you know that you think could benefit from a Thermomix? Then we'll start that way. Or if they're like, oh, I don't actually know who I would invite. Okay, so then we can ask them, thinking about their time, health, energy, money. So who do you know that is super busy, who's got kids, and who could, you know, use with an extra hand in the kitchen? Or who do you know that is currently on a bit of a health journey and wanting to eat healthier? Or do you know someone with food allergies, and you know, someone who's got gluten-free, or those kind of things as well? So you can definitely help brainstorm with your host who they might want to invite in the demo. And then really important, with just a follow-up, 1 or 2 follow-ups, depending on how far out you've booked your demo. I have forgotten this once, and once I showed up at a demo and the host had forgotten to remind the people, so it was just me and the host. So definitely, that's a mistake you only ever do once. So if you booked this demo a couple of weeks in advance, it's really good to just give them a ring 7 days prior and just check in. Hey, who do you have coming? Are you all sorted for the demo? Maybe if you haven't decided on the menu yet, then we do that. And then a couple of days, 24 to 48 hours before, we give them another call just to check in to see, hey, who have you got coming? You know, have you found all the ingredients okay? You know, I'm going to arrive 15, 20 minutes before, you know, those kind of things. So really nice and simple. It's 5 easy steps to set up our demos really, really well. And then it's also nice if you're ringing that 2 days before, hey, do you want me to send you through the host reward menu, so that you can have a look and see which one of the host rewards you might be keen to get after the demo. So that's really, really nice. And then in terms of preparation for the demo, the personal presentation, super nice and simple. We want to try and keep it simple, a professional outfit, nothing too crazy. Just, I normally wear I would always have a black shirt or a black polo, just some normal jeans or black pants or black jeans, some closed-in shoes, and if you have an apron, you can choose to use that. As you're going along, you will earn your Thermomix apron, so that is really nice to use if you've got it. Then we're taking 3 bags, and I believe that Lee is showing us this in another video. So you've got 1 bag with your food, so your non-perishable ingredients, and you will have, if you have a thermoserver and a silicone bread mat, that's great things to bring. You don't have to if you don't have them. I would also just pack a couple of cleaning items. I really like having a chopping board and just a knife, just something from my cupboard. I just bought a really simple plastic one from Countdown when I started, and in the beginning I used one of these supermarket kind of rectangle cooler bags or chili bins or whatever you call them. So because that's really nice and easy to stack containers in that. So that's something you can use. So we've got 1 bag with our food, and then you've got 1 bag with your guest questionnaire folders, where you have your guest questionnaire, a little product brochure, a recruitment card, and a pen. And you got them in the folder that you get provided in your business kit when that arrives. And then you've got your Thermomix, and make sure that your Thermomix is updated, so that, and if there's an update coming when you're turning it on at the demo, just don't say yes, just X out of that, and leave that for another day. So in the beginning, you might actually be a good idea to save your box and carry your Thermomix in that until you've earned the shopper bag, or you might just have a nice sport bag or some other way of just bringing your Thermomix to your demo. When I started in 2020, it was lockdown and we didn't get our business kit until way later, and I actually strapped in my Thermomix in the passenger seat on my way to the demo. So there's lots of different options in that respect as well. When you're setting up your demonstration area, you just want to make sure that your machine is turned on, you've got the flip chart on. So I would normally try and hook it up. I would hook it up to the Wi-Fi. Most places has got a Wi-Fi. If you don't have Wi-Fi, you can use the downloaded manifestos. So talk to your team leader if that is the case for you. And I'll just try and have a Thermomix set up so that we can stand or sit around it. I want the people to be close to the Thermomix because that's where I'm using my demo screens, and I want them cooking and involved rather than having that on a bench and people sitting at a dining table or something further away. If we're using a dining table, I will try and get my Thermomix onto a dining table. And actually a top tip might be to just chuck in an extension cord in your kit, because you never know when you might need that. You'll bring your allergen chart that you get in your business kit, your guest questionnaire folders, and just make sure you've got your QR code, which is in the event. Your team leader will show you how to do that. And you might have that either, I normally would log into my hub and take a screenshot. That's quite nice and easy. You can also print it. There's lots of different ways but just make sure you get your guests to scan into the QR code so that you can nice and easily create that host reward. But your team leaders will show you that. And then also have your ingredients within reach. I would take up the ingredients for the first dish so that they are sitting on the bench. And then as I'm using things, I'll putting my empty containers back in my bag. And you can put all of the ingredients up, but I just find that I want to keep it not cluttered and nice and simple in the kitchen, so that we're not making too much of a mess, and just kind of tidy and put things away as we go. Right, so that's the preparation for the demo, and you will see this in action at your practical training with your team leader, or if you're going to observe a demo, you will just keep an eye out for these things when you're watching someone who has been doing a demo a few times. So the last concept I just want to go through now is the demo flow. So the demo flows, there is 4 parts to the demo when we do them. And your demo will be roughly 90 minutes to absolutely max 2 hours. But you want to, in your introduction, so when you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to introduce the Thermomix and Vorwerk, and just our intention, why are we here, and just tell your story. And your story might be super short because you might just have joined, and then I would normally share what I'm excited about. I'm super excited to show Thermomix to people because I can see the potential benefit for so many people. It might be super simple like that. And then we want to showcase both the Thermomix as a machine, but also we're selling a business opportunity. So that's something I will tell people that that's an option as well. And I will just tell people, how is today going to work in my introduction? So today I'm here to showcase the Thermomix. We're going to cook together. I'm going to, tell you a little bit about the Thermomix. But then the twist today is actually that you guys are going to get to do some cooking and get hands-on with the Thermomix. I'm expecting this to take about 60 to 90 minutes during the demo. But at the end of the demo, I'm going to come around and have a chat with all of you guys to see what you thought, get some feedback, and see what your next steps might be. So that is setting up my PCT, which means personal customer time. So that's just, I want to have a chat with everyone at the end of the demo. Then if I haven't handed up the guest questionnaire form, I'll give them a guest questionnaire form to fill out and get them to scan in on the QR code. And then it's all about building rapport, finding out about them, and seeing if a Thermomix is something that might be valuable to them. And it's really nice when people are arriving at the demo, because some people might be late or some people come at different times. Then it is, I'm just, what have you been up to today? What do you know about Thermomix? Have you been to a demo before? Is this first time you're seeing it? What do you know? Because I want to know if they've seen a Thermomix before, or if they're working with someone else. It's really nice to just get that out of the way early on in the demo. And then I try, not always work, but I try to assign dishes based on which one I think would be helpful for them or most beneficial for each person. I don't necessarily have this figured out straight at the start, but as I'm doing the introduction pages, which we'll have either on a different video, or your team leader will show you how that actually looks in action. But that kind of introduction is 10 to 15 minutes, but really it's about having fun and being there for the people and try and help them figure out if Thermomix, is going to be helpful for them or not. then the cooking part is depending on 45 to 60 minutes where we're actually cooking these 3 dishes. So we're going through the first few pages of the flip chart and then, or the demo flow, and then we're doing the cooking. And then there's a few demo screens we'll go through in the cooking part as well. And then I'm actually gonna, I'm going to show you in just a minute what that looks like, but the closing pages, so that's the end of the demo. So when we finish the cooking, or during the final stages of the cooking, when kind of the main is doing the main cooking time, then we go back into the demo screens and just kind of go through Cookidoo and, you know, what is the next steps, and those kind of things. And then at the end, I will have personal customer time, which is good. And that might just be a 2-minute conversation to say, hey, what did you think? Do you think a Thermomix will be useful for you? And, you know, what would it mean for you guys? And, you know, I'm going to give you a call, you know, in the next couple of days. What does that, you know, when suits you? And kind of, and ideally set up an actual appointment, because if I don't follow up with people, then I might as well just not do the demo. So that's being respectful of their time and my time to just figure out what does the next steps looks like for them. So just a few notes on the cooking and the closing pages. So, you know, make sure that you have tried the recipes and you've cooked them and you know them, and stick to the matrix. And really, you don't need to know them by heart. You just need to have cooked them before, because actually the guests in the demo are the ones cooking. So they are the ones who are actually following the prompt. So you're just there guiding them. And make sure that you don't take over. It's really easy as a Thermomix, you know, owner and consultants to kind of help them, and then all of a sudden you're taking over. Just make sure that they are actually following, because this is really important. When they are doing the cooking, that's when they can see actually how useful it would be to them and relate really. What would this look like in my daily life if this was, you know, how I got to do my demos or do my cooking every day. Sorry. So your knowledge will guide and help them through each step. And during the cooking, to really try and, from what they've told in the beginning about why cooking and Thermomix, why cooking, what is important when it comes to food and cooking for them. So then you're going to relate. So could you see here how, you know, if you're time poor, that, you know, the fact that the Thermomix is sauteing while you can do other things, how would that be helpful? Like, what would that make a difference in your life? And, you know, when you're cooking dinner with your kids at home after work. So kind of just try and relate this back to them, and you'll see your team leaders are brilliant at this. So look at them and listen to how they do this in the demo, because yeah, they are great. And sometimes it's also the things of how would it make you feel if you were able to cook a beautiful, simple and cheap meal in just 25 minutes, rather than, you know, getting that takeaway once a week, or those, you know, stressful evenings, or depending on what their pain point and problem was. And then there are some nice partial closing messages, and these are kind of the things. So imagine that you had a Thermomix in your bench. What would be the first thing you would cook, or what would be the biggest difference, or what flavor would you do on your fruity dream? So this kind of just making them imagine what would it mean if I had a Thermomix. So that's kind of all the things that we're doing during the cooking. And yeah, it's a real skill, and that you will build the more you do this, is how what they're telling you in the beginning. And when we're doing the cooking, how we can kind of help them realize how beneficial it might be for them to have a Thermomix. In the closing pages, that's kind of towards the end. Once we've done the main cook, we're going through payment options. We're, again, and it's really nice, preparing them for that personal customer time. And it might be that they have a very specific question during the demo, and you can actually say it's a really nice kind of way to keep reinforcing that we're just going to come around and have a chat towards them. If they have something specific, say about that they've got someone with a food allergy, or, you know, what about my child who's dairy free? And then you can actually say, hey, do you know what? When I come around at the end of the demo, I'll show you some recipes that I think could be really helpful for you guys if you're dairy free. So that's a really nice way to kind of just prepare them, and I'll come around and check in with you guys at the end. And just if you say that a couple of times, then when you get to the end of the demo, they know to expect that you're going to come and just have a chat to them. And make sure that they complete the guest questionnaire forms, and you might want to have access to Some consultants have a link tree. You might just have your buy button link in your notes on your phone, or sometimes I send things to myself in my own messenger just so that I can just send it on to people. And it isn't a bad idea to just double check after the demo that everyone has checked in okay, and that in the hub you can see each of the guests in the demo. So that was what I just wanted to go through for you now with some of the demo concepts, so that when you're observing a demo, you understand why we do some of the things that we do. And we're going to go through the flip chart in a little bit more detail for each of the screens and what you might say. But really remember, this is about having fun and letting people discover that a Thermomix could be helpful for them. And you'll just need to facilitate this and really, help them. That's all that we're wanting to do. So just remember, we're just starting somewhere, and you're going to learn as you go on. And we all started with just doing the absolutely best that we could with the resources that we had, and permission to be a little bit clunky. And remember that they don't know what a demo should look like necessarily. If you don't tell them, they don't necessarily know that you missed saying something, or we're all going to come out of a demo. I've done about 200 demos, and I don't think I've ever done a perfect demo. So just start somewhere and have fun, and I will see you in the next video.